Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's edition of The Fishing Teacher, and really appreciate you guys making some time out of your day to spend with me watching the video. Always appreciate that. And guys, today I want to talk about falling water levels and how that affects bass and what you can do to combat that, and some techniques that work pretty good when the water's falling. Because based upon a lot of different scenarios out there, bass will react differently when the water falls, in relationship to the type of lake it is, and how fast the fall is, water clarities. There's a lot to it. So I sort of want to give you guys sort of a foundational little seminar here on how to approach that if the lake that you fish, the water levels are falling right now, which they normally do. The time of filming this video, it's the fall time of the year. We have a lot of dropping water levels in the fall and the winter, so we'll get into that in the video today. Also, guys, quick reminder, it is fall, October, and I want to show you guys one of my favorite fall baits if you guys would like to pick one up. This is the 6-inch Megabass Magdraft in the MB shad pattern, MB gizzard shad pattern. This is an excellent lure in the month of October and November. If you guys would like to pick up one, I'll put my Tackle Warehouse link in the description, and I'll link the 6-inch Magdraft in that particular description there. But this is a really good color combination, guys. If you have clear water, like if the water visibility is say over 3.5 feet, and you have a bright sunny or partly cloudy day, this real natural looking MB gizzard shad is a really good color. So link in the description of the video here. Really appreciate that. Okay, now traditionally what you're going to have is dropping water levels in the summertime, summertime, fall, and the winter time. Spring water levels are usually stable or rising, but traditionally there's a drop associated with the late summer, fall, and into the winter, depending upon your precipitation amounts. Now, I think there's a lot of myths and misconceptions surrounding dropping water levels, because there's a couple different things you have to consider here. If the water level is normal, say for example, you have a normal water level, and the water begins to drop, that's one scenario. And the other scenario is if you have the water levels are, say, flooded out a little bit, you got some flooded bushes in the water, maybe the water's 2, 3, 4 feet above normal, and then the water starts dropping out of that flooded cover. So there's two different scenarios I want to talk about here. And I think there's a lot of myths and misconceptions surrounding this. Now, one of the things that fish do when the water's high and you've got flooded cover in the water, they do exactly what you think they would do. It's like, say for example, the water's 2 or 3 feet high, and you've got some flooded willow trees, or you got some flooded grass beds, or you got some whatever cover is in your lake. Say there's 2 or 3 feet of water in that cover, and you've been catching some fish, flipping a jig in some of the willow trees, or throwing a spinnerbait in some flooded grass or something like that. When the water level drops out of that particular cover, those fish are going to move out with it, and they're going to move out deeper and set up on whatever available cover is out deeper. That is a common rational way of thinking. But what happens under most conditions, because you're talking about a very small time period of the year where that's the situation, most of the time water levels are sort of at their normal levels, and they begin to drop when we have less precipitation in the summer, fall, and the winter time. So say for example, like on Table Rock Lake where I live here, the normal water level is like 9:15. That's the normal gauge for it. And right now it's about 9:11 or 9:12. So you've had the water drop down 2 or 3 or 4 feet below its normal level. And when it's normal, you don't have flooded cover in the water. So this causes fish to do different things. Now what you have, this is what I have found in my own experience. When you have dropping water levels, you got to think in terms of the different populations of the fish. Now you got one population that lives out in deep water, and they're the ones that the spotlighters go after. They're suspended, roaming around chasing shad out in the middle of the lake. Those fish are oblivious to dropping water. Doesn't mean anything to them. But you have another population of fish in the lake that live shallow, and there's about 25 to 30% of the fish at any given time that live in less than 5 foot of water at the same time when they also have fish living out in deep water. Those shallow fish are the ones that are not impacted, but they're the ones that have more movement associated with falling water. Now, there is a paradox that goes on here, because if you have dropping water levels in the late summer, fall, and winter time, not necessarily as much in the winter time because the water temperatures cool off, but if you have dropping water levels like in July, August, September, October, and November, what it's going to do to those fish, it's going to push those fish shallower for the most part. I don't know what it is about it, but it's like if that water level starts dropping where it's 2-3 feet below normal, those fish that are normally out there in 4, 5, 6 foot of water, they will move shallow. They will get like in 2 to 3 feet of water, regardless of the water clarity. I don't care if it's clear water or if it's dirty water or whatever. Now, the only thing that I can figure is that dropping water level, it exposes more crawdads, or the crawdads that were living deeper are now shallower, or there's got to be something to do with the food base that is affected by that positively for the fish to want to make a move shallow. But I know, for example, like when I fish down at Grand Lake, if I'm fishing down there in September or October and the water levels are falling, I'll take a little small crankbait and I'll move right up on the bank and get as shallow as I can, even as the water's falling. It can be falling like 6 inches, 8 inches a day, and those fish keep moving shallower and shallower and shallower. That's just been my own personal experience with that. And like I said, I can theorize why that is, but it just sort of is what it is. I mean, we talked about this before, that you just find bass where they're at. So the main gist I want you to get in this video is if you're fishing a typical lake and, it's this time of year, late summer, whatever like that, and that water level starts to fall, don't get sucked into thinking that you have to move out deeper to catch them. So let's say, for example, you've been catching fish on a crankbait, cranking a rocky bank or a riprap bank, and all of a sudden you go to the lake 2 or 3 weeks later and you look at it and says, man, the water level's dropped 3 feet here. I bet those fish have moved out to deep water. That's not the case. They don't do that. They will stay shallow, they move shallow. And to me, the variable that determines if a fish moves out deeper or stays shallow has to do with the conditions like the like the water temperature, the wind, the sunlight conditions, the light penetration. Those things have a bigger impact than the water levels dropping. So just a little food for thought there, guys. I love fishing fall in water. One of my favorite times of year is to fish this time of year when the water levels are really, really low, because number one, you get to see some unique cover. You get to see a lot of rock and rock transitions that you normally can't see because they're covered up. You get to see what type, if there may be some stump or brush pile out there you didn't know that was there. So it's a really good time to be on the lake, because when that lake does come up again, if you can remember a lot of the stuff where that cover's at, you can go back in those areas and catch fish, once those areas get covered up, with higher water. So, guys, hope it helps you out a little bit, and we'll talk later. See you.